If you're a parent trying to navigate the special education system, you already know it can be, well, a lot. It's complex, it can be overwhelming, so today we're going to cut right through all that noise and get to 4 powerful truths about your child's rights. This is the kind of stuff that can really change the game for you as an advocate. Let's dive right in.
You know, if you've ever felt like you're just buried in meetings and jargon and stacks of paperwork, I promise you, you are not alone. This system is supposed to be about support, but man, it can feel like a maze, right? And you're left wondering, am I even asking the right questions? Am I doing enough?
But here is the really good news. The law is absolutely on your side. It gives you this powerful framework to support your child. The key is just knowing how to use it. So let's unpack 4 of the most important and honestly often surprising rights that you have in your corner.
Okay, first up, this is a big one. It's a right that really challenges a lot of old-school ideas about where a child with a disability belongs. We're talking about the right to inclusion.
So think about this for a second. This is a fundamental principle, and it completely flips the script on how things used to be done. The conversation shouldn't start with what's easiest for the school. It has to start with what's right for your child. And legally, the default assumption, the starting point, is that your child's place is in the general education classroom. The legal term for this is the least restrictive environment, or LRE for short. The easiest way to think about it is like a ladder of support. A school can't just decide to jump to the most restrictive option, like putting your child in a separate classroom all day. The burden is actually on them to prove that your child cannot succeed in a general classroom, even with extra help and support. So what does that support actually look like? Well, it means starting with things inside the regular classroom. Like a personal aid, or maybe modified assignments, or even assistive technology. It's only if those supports aren't enough that more restrictive options, like separate classrooms or different schools, should even be on the table. The main takeaway here is so important. Segregation is the last resort. It should never, ever be the starting point. Okay, so that's the right to be in the classroom. But what happens when behavior becomes an issue? I know this can be a huge source of anxiety for parents, but here again, your child has very specific, very powerful legal protections. This right here is a critical shield for your child. If their behavior is a direct result of their disability, think about the impulsivity that comes with ADHD, or a meltdown from sensory overload for a child on the autism spectrum, the school can't just punish them like any other student. They are legally required to stop and follow a very specific process first.
So here's how that process works. Let's say the school wants to suspend your child for more than 10 days or even expel them. They can't just do it. They have to hold a special meeting, and it's called a manifestation determination. In that meeting, the team, and that includes you, the parent, has to figure out one key question. Was the behavior caused by the child's disability? If the answer is yes, then they generally cannot move forward with that expulsion.
And this brings us to another powerful truth, one that a lot of people miss. Even in a situation where your child is legally removed from their classroom for disciplinary reasons, the school's duty to actually educate them doesn't just disappear. In many cases, they are still required to provide educational services to make sure your child doesn't fall behind.
All right, our third right tackles a really common and, frankly, frustrating misconception about who's even eligible for special education in the first place. And the answer is a lot broader than many people, even some educators, might realize.
Does this sound familiar? So many parents go through this. You see the daily struggle, the hours it takes to do homework, the anxiety. But the school just looks at the report card, sees passing grades, and says, nope, everything's fine. It can feel so invalidating. But guess what? The law sees things differently.
So here's the big question. Can a child who is gifted, who is getting good grades, still qualify for an IEP? The surprising answer is absolutely 100% yes. Good grades do not automatically disqualify a child from getting help for an underlying disability. These incredible kids are known as twice exceptional, or 2E for short. They might be a brilliant writer who just can't organize their thoughts into a paragraph because of dysgraphia, or maybe a math genius who struggles with social cues because of autism. The point is, their gifts don't cancel out their challenges, and they need support for their disability to truly let those gifts shine.
Whew! Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here.
from inclusion and discipline all the way to who actually qualifies for services. The most important thing now is to figure out how to turn all this knowledge into real, effective action for your child. So let's do a quick recap of the 4 powerful truths we've talked about. First, your child's right to inclusion in the least restrictive environment. Second, the crucial protections they have when it comes to discipline. Third, and this is a big one to remember, the school's duty to provide continued services even during a removal. And fourth, the fact that even gifted students can and do qualify for support.
Knowing your rights is always the first step. If you need more resources or maybe some expert guidance on your journey, a really great place to start is edlawadvocates.com. They can help you turn what you've learned into effective action.
And that brings us to the end, so I'll just leave you with this to think about. Now that you're armed with this knowledge, what's the next step you're going to take? What's the next question you're going to ask to become an even more powerful advocate for your child?